In the spring of 2019, Liliuokalani Trust held 10 systems mapping workshops across the Pai'aina. Our intent was simple: to gain a better understanding from our communities what they see as hurting or helping their ability to thrive. We visited 5 islands, met with over 300 people, and collected over 130 stories. The following is a compilation of those mo'olelo and reflects the mana'o and ike from the communities we visited.
We live in a complex world, with stories and problems that are sometimes simple and sometimes complex. Some of the issues we face have clear solutions, but other issues we face are ever-changing, unpredictable, and hard to control. These issues are like clouds. They have no clear shape, and they change constantly. Poverty is like these clouds. It emerges and retreats. It's difficult, if not impossible, to control. Its causes are hard to figure out. Our systems map is an attempt to collect and weave together the stories of Native Hawaiians, poverty, and a future where Native Hawaiians thrive. Our map shows how experiences shape both individual and collective narratives. This collection of stories will help us understand the best ways to support young people to lead thriving lives. At the core of many stories is a tale about an abundant and thriving Hawaiian people. A people with a complex social structure and deep connection to the world around them. The core story holds tension between an abundant past and a modern people still trying to find their way. At the core of this story is a people who have survived and yet continue to carry deep pain. A pain that shows up as harm to themselves or harm to others. When harm is inflicted on self or others, a new story emerges, not about the original harm, but about new harms. Without support to address current and original harms, trauma transmits between generations. Relationships become frayed, broken, and the ohana are not able to take care of its members.
Our family problems lead to stress that causes negative behavior, which causes us to run out of money. People start to fight about money, creating problems which then cause physical, emotional, mental abuse, which leads to depression. This makes it harder for any of us to focus and make money. Then bills pile up. The possibility of eviction becomes real. People turn to stealing or cheating to try meet our needs. Eventually, ohana end up in jail and we really start to lose hope.
The core of this story shows a transfer of loss and trauma within ohana.
When traumatic events affect makua, kupuna must become makua again. It becomes difficult for kupuna to perpetuate traditions because they're preoccupied with picking up kids from school, doing homework, cooking dinner, earning a living, the things a makua should be doing. Surviving starts to overshadow traditions. Hawaiians don't develop a positive identity because our kupuna are supporting our keki's survival. So if we help makua to take care of themselves and heal their trauma, everyone benefits. The makua, the keiki, the kupuna, and our traditions get passed down. When traditional knowledge lives, the ohana can thrive for generations into the future.
Without a society with empathy for the hurt we show and hurt we've hidden away, we create structures, schools, healthcare, laws that ignore what's really going on. We attribute poverty to laziness, underachievement, and personality flaws. But the root cause isn't any of these. When there are no guardians of traditions, exploitative forces can take root, making it even harder for individuals to find success.
When we don't respect the Aina, we lose appreciation for what feeds us, and we lose our grounding and become disconnected from our heritage. Without a foundation, it's easy to be hopeless and apathetic, so we don't fight for our resources and our heritage. People become more ignorant about the value of Hawaiian culture.
At the core of all these stories, there is great hope, particularly among youth. Navigators, people who act as bridges between where we are and where we want to be, help us to create stories that move us from being hopeful to being successful.
I remember my grandfather telling me that when he was a kid he could not speak Hawaiian because the white man told him not to. When my mother was in school, the language was still banned but was recognized as an official language. Several years later, they started teaching Hawaiian language in schools. Today, I am proud to be able to know and speak Hawaiian language, the language that my grandfather could not speak.
When I follow people who are not good for me, I get into trouble with people who really want to help me. Shutting out people who care makes it really hard to find my way. If I step back and ask myself what am I doing, I realize I'm trying to be successful. Focusing on my goals keeps me from negative influences and bad behavior.
Now that I'm a sophomore in college, I realize how fortunate I am to have my high school teacher, friend, and mentor alongside my college journey. She inspired and helped me apply to colleges and scholarships. I wouldn't be where I am today in my journey without her words of wisdom and encouragement.
When we have people who listen to our stories and help us create new stories of strength, we can heal. Struggle becomes manageable. We emerge from our darkness and join with others to create more stories of strength. Eventually, our stories and experiences of healing can extinguish the pain of our people. At the core of our stories is loss and trauma, with healing as the basis for a hopeful future.
If we spend time listening to each other's stories, we can help find ways to move forward.
When we know the stories about injustices committed against each other, we can do something about it. Creating communities of people who work together to heal ourselves and change our stories makes community strong.
Though the story of the map begins with loss, it ends with hope and healing. Are we doing enough to heal and change our stories? And if we all tell stories, what stories will people tell about us 7 generations from now? Will they tell a story about how we survived and helped future generations to thrive? What are we doing to make this story true?